we'll see how this works as far as timing-wise, but nevertheless, I'm going to be making sure I look nice and good. Greetings from Metropolis, Illinois. All right, that's great. So we are live and in session, and we are recording for the Supergirl 2026 movie, the Summer of Supergirl. Now, I will say, currently, I have no one joining me. So if you would like to join me, head on over to Patreon if you would like to discuss this movie, and we will discuss it. It's $25, so I'll give you a 1 month, then cancel, and that's great. And you could join the discussion. Yeah, and you're like, you might be thinking, $25. Why would I join for $25? Well, one, if you really love talking comics, cosplays, and conventions, that's a reason, because I'm trying to building a community of those that love comics, cosplays, and cons. And yeah, really just building up a community and positive, and, really just, there's so much negativity in the world. And if you're looking for a positive place to talk about these things, then this is the place for you. If you're watching via YouTube, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. And we will get into it shortly, but I'm heading over to my Patreon now to see whether anyone has signed up or not. Because if they have, I've got to give them the link. Active members 0, but that will change thanks to you. One day, you will be part of my Patreon super community. Sorry, that sounded more like Lex than Superman. But anyways, if you want to join, head on over to Comics CC Studio on Patreon, sign up, and talk Supergirl with me. But I digress. I'm going to go ahead and get going here. And you're like, man, this is a lot, right? Talking about Supergirl. Yeah, there has been a lot of opinions here, there, and everywhere. So part of me was like, maybe I shouldn't even post something about Supergirl, the movie, because, like, there's just all kinds of comments. There's people that loved it, people that thought, it was okay. Others that were like, man, that's a great movie. Others that were like, this is a horrible movie. And I saw a comment from someone the other day, and yeah, saying something about Christian fathers not liking it. And you know what? If that is your conviction, I support you in your decision. We live in a great land, and even if we didn't, and, that's debatable by some. But nonetheless, we are still in a place where we can freely express our opinions, and that's okay. And I think what I would like is more of just an open discussion about these things. Excuse me. I'm not a political show. I never will be, just because politics are blah. So if you're like me and you think that too, come on over. And that's not to say you can't be, have somebody you support and somebody you don't like. That's completely fine. But by and large, politics will not be welcome on my channel of any kind. It doesn't matter. There are plenty of other places you can discuss your opinion, your own page, start your own podcast even, and tell us all why either the president is great or he's the most terrible human being on earth, right? You could do that there, but not here. This is a place for Superman, Supergirl, and let's get into it. So, Supergirl, the movie, I've actually seen it twice now. Now, when I came out of the movie theater experience, I was pretty high on that. Let's see here, just a second. Okay, so yeah, I was really high on it. I gave it a 9 out of 10. That was even coming out. I was like, yeah, I think I gave it too high of a score. Going back the second time, I still probably give it an 8 out of 10. And actually, this is funny. If I were going to stick with my 9 and I wanted to bump it up, could only go to 10. So I don't know. Maybe in reality, it could have been an 8. In the second showing, I could have bumped it up to 9. And but why, do you say? Like, why did it give it such a high rating? Because a lot of other people were like, yeah, it was a good movie. So the first time when I saw it, Millie Alcock and the gal that plays, I think her name's Evie or Eve or something, that plays Ruthie, those two girls, sometimes their performances landed for me, sometimes they did not land for me. And I wonder, so this is any actor, like many actors, Tom Holland, who is over from, I think, England or somewhere over the pond, as we like to say here in the US of A. And it's great, but sometimes I wonder, I'm like, why not why do we have to like contextualize everything? Like, oh, Supergirl was like, I don't know why we think she was American. She was not an American. So I'm like, why not have let Millie talk in? I think she's from Australia. Why not let her talk like that? Like, and I know some people will probably say like, oh, we're not in that. Why not? Like, why not? Why are we not at the place where we can let superheroes have different dialects, different accents? Why do they all have to be freaking? And I say this lovingly, and I love where I live. Don't get me wrong. I love America, but like, why can't we let people just talk in their own accents? For instance, like, if she's an Australian, then hey, Krypton, like, find a bunch of Australian actors, and there you go. That is their language. You could still have them speak differently, but have them speak like in that accent, um, of over there. Like, why can't like if Supergirl's from another planet, anyways. If and Cal never grew up there. Okay, he's from Kansas. Great, Midwestern, fine, great. But Supergirl, like, why can't we like when she arrived, she was already somewhat, she was, not an adult, obviously, but she wasn't like a baby either, like Cal was. So it was in between there. So like, why can't we let her have an accent? And when she talks, people might even say like, "Oh, that's your cousin. You guys don't talk the same at all." She's like, "Yeah, I'm not from this planet," and right, and I'm not saying Australia is another planet at all by any stretch of the imagination. Uh, Australians go Australia, um, but I digress. I just say like, yeah, let some of these actors and actresses like speak as they will. Like, we don't have to Americanize everything. And I'm not opposed to either like actors like Tom Holland, like now he's got to do like an American accent, if you will, if you don't live in America, and that's fine. It's great. I'm all for it, but like, why not? Why not experiment anyways? So the first time I saw the movie, some of the lines didn't land for me, and surprisingly, and actually the intro didn't either. But after going in, kind of knowing what to expect, I guess, and just okay, I'm just going to watch it, see what happens. I actually would say my viewing experience was better this time around overall, because I think it was a more like even keeled experience. The first time I saw the movie, it took me up until about the Krypton scene to really get into the movie. And then after the Krypton scene, I felt pretty much fully invested. Lobo, I would say at the beginning, the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't know, like, I'm not a Lobo fan, but for those that are, great. But I was like, he didn't really do much for me. But the second time around after seeing it, I'm like, okay, like, it was fun. It was good. I don't think it lost anything by having Lobo. I still don't know that my experience of Lobo the second time went up a lot more, but I would say a little bit more. But again, my overall experience did too. There were some lines I feel like that are better, and this is just kind of all over overview maybe. There's some lines, for instance, when Kara said, or Kara, depending upon your iteration of Supergirl, but in this version they use Kara, they used the line, Krypton did not die in a day. The gods were not that kind. And I think that line, reading it, is good. It's good to read. Like, oh, wow, that's impactful. Could they have maybe changed it a little bit? Like, you know, my planet was destroyed, but that's only half of the story. My gods were not very kind to us or something. I don't know. That's terrible scripting as well, but I'm just saying, could it have been a little better where you kept the heart of that sentence, but maybe not the word for word verbatim? Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, overall, second time, very good. There were still a couple times where I was like, Millie's performance, like overall, like I give it a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10. A couple times didn't connect with me, but that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to hit every single time for every single person. But overall, I will say, sorry about that. Overall, I will say it was a better experience. The beginning didn't feel as slow the first time around. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like kind of just tracking like a movie that I enjoy. And so that's great. A lot of times for me, I tend to, things have to kind of grow on me. You could ask my wife, and she would tell you that things just that's just kind of my personality. The first time I may not be excited about it, and then in subsequent viewings I might be like, oh well, this is really great. For instance, the Man of Steel movie, I don't think that Lois Lane is as terrible as maybe people make her out to be, but I've also watched it a few different times. There are still some lines I don't like. She says the D word a couple times, and or maybe once, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. That was like that movie's word, I guess, that they could say and be like edgy or whatever, which to me is a little ridiculous, but it is what it is. People do what they do, and it's fine. But her performance as Lois, actually, and her chemistry with Clark, over seeing her more times, I'm like, it's really like kind of growing on me. But again, that's just kind of my personality. So going back to Supergirl, the movie, the beginning parts, I won't say the beginning parts of the movie, they were not by any stretch of the imagination like it went from, say, a 10 to a 20 or something like that. Not at all. But it was more enjoyable the second time around. I wanted to really listen the second time for the score, because the first time I was like, man, I don't think the score was really all that great, honestly. And that's no offense. I just didn't hear much of it. I was like, was there, like, I know there was some, but what was it like? And this time I tried to key in on that. And actually, there were a few times. I think the scene when spoiler warnings if you've not seen the movie, but I think the scene where she flies out of the space bus, if you will, or rather gets ejected out of the space bus, and then the sun comes over the horizon, the ice melts away, I suppose, or whatever happens to Kryptonian DNA at that point because of the sun. I think during that point, the score really hit me. I was like, this is a good use of it. It really, and it wasn't long. And that's the thing. Like, most of the sections where the score played, I tried to also keep a somewhat of an ear out, maybe for the length, or at least as I'm thinking back now, I think that's what I was doing. And it never really went all that long. The scene where she first appears in her costume as Supergirl, or the Supergirl with the S shield, I would say that was a good use as well. I think this is going to sound silly, but I think some of the ways that the music resolved, and I know very little about music theory, if anything about music theory, but the resolving, I didn't feel like it was as great for me. I liked Superman better, but even that movie, some of the things that resolved as far as the music or the score went, I was like, I feel like you could have, there's parts I liked. It's not all about me, I get, but there's parts I liked and how the music was, and there's other parts I'm like, yeah, I could have done something a little bit better, but it's a movie, it's fine, it's good. But overall, yes, the score still wasn't as present, and something I had heard. Shout out to Supergirl Radio if you want a great Supergirl podcast to listen to. Something I had heard about Supergirl, or about the movie, was that someone had said that, like, they had heard, and I don't know if this is a rumor or confirmed, that like the person that they wanted to do the score was not able to, and so therefore they kind of scrambled last minute to get somebody. And I'm like, if that's the case, and then of course my wife's opinion, which may be valid as well, they wanted it to be more like a soundtrack movie than a score movie, or more of a mix. Whatever the case was is fine. But as far as score, like, not that I have to compare it to Superman, but I am comparing it to Superman. I like the Superman one better, and I don't even think it was because it was Superman. It's just, it felt longer, it felt more hopeful, upbeat. Not that this one didn't, but I felt like we needed a little bit more of that, or a little bit more of the higher notes, or the kind of heroic notes. And I don't know anything about movies like it. It could be totally fine and great. It probably is. And as I listen to it more, I'll be like, oh, that was great. But I do think I would have liked more score, more actual orchestral music than just soundtrack music. But that's just me. Everybody's different, and you may have loved it, and that's great. And I'm glad for all those that really loved the music and the soundtrack. And it wasn't bad by any means. Of course, we got the Jimmy Eat World remix in the middle there. Actually, I said in the middle, meaning like in the middle of the scene, but I think, isn't that what the song is called? In the middle. But I digress. So going back to, what am I going back to? Lobo, Supergirl, Ruthie. As far as their performances, I still think those fight scenes were pretty epic as far as fight scenes go, because she wasn't just punching or x-ray visioning her way out of things. She was pretty much doing. I don't. Yeah, she was pretty much using all of her powers throughout the movie. I don't know if she ever used her freeze breath, and maybe that's because David Cornsweet used it in his, and they're trying to differentiate. They're like, okay, we'll give her more of the heat vision power and the flying, and not so much the super breath or whatever. And maybe she did, and I just forget. But I don't feel like that was one power she used. Um, excuse me. And yeah, so I think there we go. A little adjustment here as we're going live on YouTube. But I think overall, she. I think one thing I want to say about Supergirl in this movie is like she was a fighter the whole way. When Krypton was, except for maybe, well, even in the beginning, like when she's going on her 23rd, 23rd birthday binge, I feel like even that when she had to act for Ruthie, she was still a fighter. Now, not a very good fighter because her powers and she was drinking way too much. But still, she fought for Ruthie. When Krypton, was dying, you saw her at the hospital. And forgive me, my air conditioner just came on, so if you hear that, I apologize. But yeah, when she was at the hospital, you saw her at least being there for people. I don't know if she was fighting per se for their lives, but she was helping. She was there actually in Argo when the people were sick from the kryptonite poisoning. She was there fighting. She fought when she was poisoned. She held on at the kryptonite world with the kryptonite sun just long enough, and you're like, come on. But I think when you see Supergirl throughout the whole movie, I would describe her as a fighter. And if you've never looked at her like that, I think she was throughout the whole movie. I could say in comparing James Gunn's 2025 Superman, which I like, and I think I give it an 8 out of 10, probably in my heart of hearts, as the robots would say from Superman, I would have given it a 7 out of 10 just because I had high expectations, disappointment, all that. It's definitely 8 out of 10 now, if not 9 out of 10. But even in that, he was a different kind of fighter. He didn't give up. He was persistent. But literally, Supergirl was fighting her whole way through this movie when she had to. And I don't think she was just starting fights, although the pain was very deep, obviously, from the destruction of her planet, Argo City dying, all these things that happened to her, or she had heard about at some point, I'm sure at some point, as she got older, her parents explained to her about Argo and Krypton and what happened. But even through that, she fought through all that. And her parents were like, you could be tough, but just be good. And was she good throughout the whole movie? Debatable. But I do see her as a fighter. Ruthie too, and she even said about Clark, she's like, he hasn't experienced things like this family or me or you, and then she kind of cut herself off because she's realizing what Ruthie went through and just all that reality of what's happened in their lives. And she's like, Clark's not naive, but he maybe hasn't faced as hard of stuff as me. Which, again, debatable because you're growing up on another planet learning these powers. And if you've ever read the story American Alien, you kind of see a realness of somebody growing up with these powers. And it's not always great. But nonetheless, yes, Clark didn't have to experience the death of Krypton, where Supergirl had to see her mother pass, and then she also had to fly away from Argo City, which was her home, all she ever knew, and go off to a distant planet that she didn't know and not speak the language and acclimate and all those things. So she was a fighter. The Brigands, or Brigands, I think it's the Brigands, it was still pretty intense watching them, although it was more kind of telling than showing, which obviously you can't. But the family scene was still pretty brutal. Like in the alley, Krim he was brutal. And I think that's one thing that scene in a PG-13 type of way showed how brutal the brigands were, because I think had you adapted Woman of Tomorrow one for one the way it was in the comic versus to the big screen, it probably would have had to been an R-rated film like Logan because of all the violence. Even if some of it was off scene, all of the aftermath that was shown, even in the comic, like some of it's pretty brutal, even though it's not a gore comic by any stretch of the imagination. If you've never read Woman of Tomorrow, I highly recommend it. But just be warned, there is a lot of violence in there, a lot of violence, and you'll see some of that more than the film portrayed. The brides thing isn't even in the comics. Spoiler warning, but there's something else, and you'll see that. Sorry, I should have said spoiler warning before. I guess it's like Clark and Lois. That was an aside. It's like, no, you're supposed to say that beforehand, not after. Excuse me a minute. All right. So that was an aside. Go read the comic by Tom King. The art is amazing. I don't think I was upset this time, the second viewing. I think the first time I wanted the space dragon. Spoiler warning again. I'm not going to say anything else in case you haven't read the comic, but if you haven't, that's okay. But I wanted that, and we didn't get that. But I wasn't as put off by it the second time around. Again, this movie was a much more even keeled, a much more solid 8 out of 10 the whole way through, versus getting to the end being like, oh my gosh, those are all epic scenes, which I still think they were epic, but it didn't, the epicness of the scenes, Supergirl in her costume when she first appeared, that was still really cool. And I know there's an argument sometimes for just give them the costume, but also I wonder if you just give the hero the costume right away, such as Superman, he appears on screen first. Actually, I would venture to say he's more in costume than out of costume. And again, maybe this was the differentiation between Supergirl and Superman. He's fully embraced his heroic costume, and in this iteration, we're not going to get there right away. So I think the problem with having them in their costume right away, there's no buildup. Like, think about Iron Man 1. Had Iron Man been in his mock whatever costume right away, you wouldn't have gotten maybe that payoff when you first see him revealed in the full suit of armor, because it's a clanky armor, it's a scrapped together piece of armor, still cool in its own right, but it's not the Iron Man that we all know and love. So I think building up a hero to their costume, while yes, maybe it was too long in the movie, maybe it should have been at the when they got to the planet and Lobo showed up, and then after that scene in their fight, maybe then she gets her costume. I don't know, but she didn't have her ship as well, so there was multiple reasons why story perspective why she wasn't in her costume. But I think it's okay to do a little build up and then you give them their costume, and then people are like, oh yes, this is so amazing. Do you want it the last little bit of the movie? Probably not. You probably want it more. But also, if you're a fan of Smallville, you understand like no costumes are sometimes just the thing you get used to, right? Whether you want them or not. And so I will say that maybe they could have given her costume a little bit sooner in the movie, but overall, the epic scenes were still good. But I will say this, in comparing it to Superman, and again, it stands on its own right, but I am a Superman fan, as you can see. The quote-unquote epic shots didn't hit me as hard. I think every time I've watched Superman, after he saves that building, and then the woman drives away, looks back, he rises above the dust, which they do like their dust in the new DCU, don't they? Which is fine, but just a little observation. So then he rises above the dust, just kind of flying there. That shot, to me, I think it gets me pretty much every time. I'm not going to say 100% all the time. I don't want to lie, but like, oh my God. But I will say multiple times that I see that scene, I'm just like, perfection, like cinematic perfection there. Supergirl flying above, yes, in her costume for the first time. I would say that is also probably one of those scenes. But I just don't think it hit me as hard this time. I think when I saw Superman multiple times in the theater, that scene each time, of course I know it was coming. It was like, oh, this is just so epic. And then the music, you know, whatever. Then it goes into different iterations of that. I really like that music too. Again, maybe biased to Superman, and it's part of the John Williams iteration with a new little twist on it, and that's fine. And this is something brand new. Um, so yeah, I would say this was more of an even keeled experience. It didn't take me as long to get to more even keel as I feel like it has with the Superman film. But again, expectations. From start to finish, though, I would say I enjoyed it more. Still a couple scenes that didn't hit with me. Excuse me. Let's see, talked about Lobo. Crypto. I mean, Crypto is Crypto. He's cute. He's fun. He is just a CGI dog or whatever dog, but nonetheless, see him crowd surfing. It was fun. I got to show my wife, like, the first time she didn't see Crypto crowd surfing. She was like, "What? He was crowd surfing?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I showed her. She's like, "Oh, okay." I think that's really the only kind of new thing she got out of this viewing. Because, again, I think overall, she really liked it the first time. And she really liked the Superman movie the first time. Maybe even more so than me, and that's okay. Let's see here. What else do I want to talk about that I didn't talk about? I think that's pretty much it. And since I'm the only one currently on the Zoom call, that's all I'm gonna say. I am gonna jump on YouTube here real quick and see if I have any comments, any questions from anybody, or any comments that they would like to shout out on the YouTube live, because this is YouTube live as well. If you've watched, thank you. If you watch in the future, thank you. Thank you. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. All right, let's turn this down here. All right, currently there is nobody watching, so that is okay. So no questions, comments. Oh, one person watching. Let's see here. So yeah, talking about the Supergirl movie. But anyways, did you see the Supergirl movie? What are your thoughts on the Supergirl movie? Is that me watching it? Who knows? So yeah, I think for now I'm going to sign off. I originally planned to go an hour, but that was going to be if people join me. So also, if you would like to get in on the conversation, I will probably do one of these for Spider-Man Brand New Day. So if you would like to sign up for my Patreon, and we'll get together and talk, probably 5 spots, because I don't want to overcrowd the room. It'll be through Zoom. It'll be a chat about Spider-Man Brand New Day. And if you would like to share and be on my YouTube channel /podcast/ just talk about it, come on over. And I'd love to have you. Head over to Patreon, comiccstudio.com. Sign up for a Patreon. You'll get some bonuses. I'm still kind of building out the channel. Excuse me. And so there will be benefits along the way of joining my Patreon. Some free giveaways. I currently have some free comics. I'm still going to try to give away to the first person that would want them, that would sign up for Patreon. So if that is you, head on over to comiccstudio.com. Instagram, or no, wait, not comiccstudio.com. Just kidding. Don't go there. I don't have that website. I don't know what that website is. It's probably not a website, but you can head on over to Instagram or head over to my Patreon for signups, Comic CC Studio. It's on the screen there. On the screen there. There. Anyways, it's fun. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about Supergirl. Stay tuned to the channel for more lives, for more guests, for more awesome comics, cosplays, and conventions, as well as other nerdy thing stuff that we're building a home for. And I would love to build up this community and really just maybe even someday have meetups, have conventions, have cosplay events, all these amazing things that we do in the world of fandom. So for Comic CC Studio, this is Brent. I will CC you later. And just remember, as always, stay super. Thank you all for joining me. Have a great day.